Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time to take some live questions from the audience. We love doing the live question segment, so that's all we do here on the weekends when we have these shows, is just all open mic questions. That's what we're doing. Little thing I say, me and a buddy of mine watched UFC last night. Really, I love Chris Weidman, the fighter. Love him. But I think he's like 1-5 in his last 6 fights. Got knocked out in the first round again last night. I hate to say it, but I think it's time for the guy who dethroned Anderson Silva to retire. I think it might be time for Chris to retire. But anyway, not here to talk about MMA stuff. Here to talk about the stuff you guys want to talk about here today. So let's not waste any time and let's jump right into it. And the first question we're going to start with comes to us from Esteval Garcia, who writes, if you make Barney a rated R horror film, I'm in. I'm telling you what, obviously that's not what they're doing. This is, of course, coming from the fact that yesterday we covered a story on the John Campea Show about how with Get Out star Daniel Kaluuya, who is also in Black Panther, producing, they are doing a live action, although Barney was always live action, a live action Barney film. To which I only can ask why. I mean, but to be fair, that's the same way I felt when they announced they were doing a Lego movie, for heaven's sakes. A movie about plastic building blocks. Okay, that's dumb. Turns out Lego Movie was awesome, right? So, to be fair, I felt the same way about Lego Movie, but that is how I feel about this Barney movie. Why? But maybe, yeah, if you do this gritty R-rated horror. Eric Burton writes, got my tickets to see Irishman November 1st in New York City at the Belasco Theater. So excited. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, look, I'm very intrigued by the movie. I'm not, knowing that I'm just going to be able to watch it at home a few days later, and knowing that the movie is nearly 4 hours long, I'm not all that stoked to run out to a theater to see it. That being said, I'm excited that there are going to be people who get a chance to see it that way, because everything I have heard about The Irishman so far is exceptional. I haven't seen it myself. I still don't think it looks fabulous, but everybody I've talked to who's actually seen it is saying it's actually really quite good. So I'm quite intrigued to see it myself. All right. Logan James Kyneston sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Logan, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. And Logan writes, call me crazy. Okay, you're crazy. But I'm not a fan of most of Steven Spielberg's films. I've tried Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, etc. I just struggle to get invested in them. However, one I do really enjoy, and my favorite of his, is Catch Me If You Can. Well, you're right, Logan. I'm not going to lie. On the surface, that sounds a little bit crazy to me, but that's the subjectivity of films. Like, to me, when you're talking about Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, I mean, on and on and on, Close Encounters, you're talking about the single greatest filmmaker of all time. And these are all complete classics, to me. But the subjectivity of film dictates that every movie will hit every individual differently. And that means that some of these movies that I consider classics aren't just going to work for some people. And some movies that you consider classics aren't going to work for others. That's the subjectivity of film. I mean, yes, as a film-loving brother, my first reaction goes, are you insane? Are you crazy? Jaws, not a E.T., not... But the underlying thing is that it's all film subjective. If they didn't work for you, they didn't work for you. I do love Catch Me If You Can, though. It's not only an overlooked Spielberg film, it's an overlooked DiCaprio film and an overlooked Tom Hanks film. Like when a lot of people talk about Tom Hanks and we talk about his incredible filmography, a lot of the times people will overlook Catch Me If You Can. When you talk about Leo DiCaprio and you talk about his ever-growing incredible filmography, we quite often overlook Catch Me If You Can. Same is true of Spielberg. So it is an overrated or an overlooked movie for sure, Logan. Anyway, I'm glad you like that one, my friend. I'm glad you like that one. All right. Harry Mudd writes, Day of the Undead Barneys. Yep. Just a pure R-rated Barney gets in touch with his deeper dinosaur instincts and just starts ripping children to shreds, tearing their intestines out, feasting on their flesh. Then you've got a movie I'm interested in. All right. D-Try. Right, and writes in a very large super chat. Thank you for the support level on that scale, man. I appreciate it. Martin Scorsese reminds me of Mysterio talking about how much he hates superheroes and Tony Stark. You can be the smartest one in the room But unless you have lasers and a cape, no one will even listen, even sounds like him. You know what, D-Try? I might have to take that and put that up on my Twitter. Because that is oddly on the mark. That is kind of staggeringly on the mark. Because that is essentially what Martin Scorsese has been saying. You mean the smartest man in the room, which is, of course, him. And he is the smartest guy in the room. But unless you have lasers and a cape, no one will even listen. It really does sound like what he's saying, doesn't it? That's a great observation. I might have to take that and put that up on my social media. That's a great, great observation. All right. John, our goat Rodriguez writes, addicted to sex and alcohol until one day he realizes he loves you and you love him, and it turns his life around. That Barney synopsis you gave yesterday was great. It definitely has my money. Maybe a Campea Plus original movie. So for those of you who may have missed yesterday's show when we were talking about Barney, yeah, that's one of the directions I went. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, like, because one of the stupidest things about that, John, by the way, thank you for that super chat and supporting the channel on the level, man. What's really crazy about the story is when one of the executives of Mattel goes, we're going to surprise audiences and subvert expectations. It's Barney, for fuck's sakes. It's Barney. How much can you possibly subvert expectations? Unless, of course, you go the really dark route. Barney was a dinosaur addicted to sex and alcohol until one day you discover that he loves you and you love him. I mean, that's the only way. Subvert expectations. Give me a break. Anyway, thanks for that, John. I appreciate that, man. All right. Harry Mudd writes, personally, I just ignore the Scorsese debacle. That's just noise, and it has no bearing on his movies anyway. No, you're absolutely right. It has no bearing on his movies. The difference, though, is this. Whereas some other Hollywood types, and remember, the vast majority of Hollywood types love the comic book movies. But unlike some other Hollywood types who've come out and just expressed that they don't like comic book movies, they don't see them as being anything special, that's fine. You know, we get all our knickers in a twist and we get upset about it for a day, but then we move on from it. It's not a big deal. The difference with the Marty Scorsese situation, and where I take real issue with him, and he is a god amongst filmmaking men, make no mistake about it, is that he's gone back to it again. He's gone back to it several times now. It seems like he is actively campaigning to try to hurt the comic book movie genre. Like, it's one thing when some actor comes out and says, I don't think comic book movies are any good. I just think they're noise. Okay. That may get some people upset, but they're just expressing their opinion and they move on, and then we move on from it, right? We don't talk about the Jodie Foster comments anymore. We don't talk about the Ethan Hawke comments anymore. We don't even talk about them. They came, they went, no big deal. The Marty Scorsese ones are a little bit more because he seems to be trying to actively mount a campaign wanting to hurt comic book movies. And let's just see where it goes. Let's see if somebody gets in his ear and says, Marty, just stop. Just stop. You're not helping yourself. You're not edifying anybody. All you're doing is causing rife and conflict, and just stop it. So we'll see if he does, or we'll see if he carries it on. All right. Michael Jones writes, Watchmen starts tomorrow night, and Jack Ryan Season 2 starts November 1st. A lot to watch in November. Good luck with your new shows. Well, thank you so much, Michael, and thank you so much for that big super chat. I appreciate the support on that level, man. And yeah, so first of all, Watchmen. I am very curious to see Watchmen. I was not a big fan of the Watchmen movie. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the graphic novel. Everybody is. Wasn't a big fan of the graphic novel movie. The Watchmen movie was one of those things where it seemed like everybody either loved it or hated it. There didn't seem to be a lot of middle ground on that, you know? People loved it or people hated it. I was in the middle. I never loved the film, but I never hated it either. I thought it was all right, you know, for what it was. But most people either hated it or loved it. The trailers for the Watchmen series have been intriguing. And I am looking forward to watching it. But I'm also hearing mixed things. Like, I'm hearing some people I know saying it's the next big TV obsession. I'm hearing other people saying it's a poor man's version of Watchmen. So I don't know. I'll wait and see it myself. Now, as far as the new shows go, for those of you who have not heard yet, what Michael is referring to is that I am starting up 2 new shows, one on my own channel and one on the Schmodown channel, both with Christian Harloff. So on Tuesday, November 5th, Christian and I launch our new Star Wars show called Dark Side, Light Side. It's just the two of us talking Star Wars. We're going to be doing it every single week, and that'll be on the Schmodown YouTube channel. And then on Thursdays, we're going to be doing the Campea and Harloff show, which a little bit of Star Wars might get in there as well, but it's just basically talking about, it's a recap show of the biggest events of that week and us debating them and going over them and revisiting those issues. And I'm extremely excited about both of them. Thank you guys to all of you who sent in the overwhelming amount of support that you guys have sent in regarding those two new shows. And we thank you for that. And we're very excited to get things started on that. So thanks for bringing that up, Michael. I appreciate it, dude. All right. D308X writes, CM Punk is starring in a new movie coming out. What? It's called Girl on the Third Floor. It has 87% on Rotten Tomatoes by 15 reviews. So clearly it's some kind of straight to home video release. Hold on a second. Let me just look it out. What's it called? Girl on the Third Floor, Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, let's see what they're saying about this movie. I like CM Punk, by the way. I've had a chance to meet and talk to him a couple times. Okay, so this is a complete straight-to-home video movie. And, I mean, hey, yeah. I mean, it's actually got a couple legit reviewers, too. I mean, Variety watched it, and Variety says, if the story isn't ultimately a knockout, the film's atmospherics and sense of humor are winning nonetheless. So Variety gave it a positive review. Who else gave it a positive review? No one else you would have heard it. Oh, no. Slash Film gave it a positive review. The Verge gave it a positive review. Rube Morgue Magazine gave it a positive review. Film School Rejects gave it a positive review. It's got holding an 87% with 15%. None of them are saying it's the most wonderful film ever, but there you go. But not a movie you're going to be able to run out to your local Cinemaplex and catch anytime soon, though. But I like CM Punk. I'm glad he's having some success. All right. Snake Jerusalem writes, will we get more one-shot DC films like Joker? Certainly hope so. I mean, I don't want them to just do a formulaic, let's do exactly what we did with Joker, but now with different villains from the DC universe. I hope they don't do that. But my hope with the Joker has always been that DC and Marvel will see that you can do outside of the idiotic shared cinematic universes. I love the shared cinematic universes, but it's idiotic that everybody thinks everything has to be in a shared cinematic universe. That's stupid. But I was really hoping that the success of Joker will tell both DC and Marvel, tell some one-shot standalone stories outside of your stupid cinematic universes. And I'm hoping with the huge success of Joker, I'm hoping that's what happens. Richard Karate writes, does Simba realize Luke and Leia are his siblings? I don't know if, I understand Mufasa sounds a lot like Vader, but remember, they are not two and one and the same. Ben Rayner writes, when you and Harloff do each other's shows, will you guys actually be in each other's studios? Or will it be like Skype calling? Just curious. So exciting. So I think probably 7 times out of 10, we will be in each other's studios. Now, it is over an hour drive for us to get to the other person's place. So I'm sure there will be maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, where you'll see we Skype in to the other person's show. But for the most part, we are going to, since I only have to drive out there once a week and he only has to drive out here once a week, for the most part, you're going to see us in each other's studios. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Thanks for asking, Ben. All right, Willow Yang writes, who in your opinion gave the better performance, Lupita Nyongo in Us or Toni Collette in Hereditary? I kind of hate these questions where I'm just being set up to get other people mad at me. You know what? I love Lupita Nyong'o's performance in Us. And as of right now, I believe it really does deserve an Academy Award nomination. That said, I thought Toni Collette should have been a front runner to win the Academy Award last year. I thought she not only should have been nominated, I thought she should have been, I mean, not a slam dunk lock, but I thought she should have been the front runner to win the Academy Award last year for her role in Hereditary, and she didn't even get nominated. I had to do a double take. I remember when they read off the nominees last year for Best Lead Actress, I had to do a double take. I'm like, wait, no, I must have missed something. I didn't hear them say Toni Collette for Hereditary. No disrespect to all the other actresses who did get nominated, and they were fabulous. But Toni Collette should have been a frontrunner to win. So, understanding that I think both of these performances deserve Academy Award nominations, I actually thought Toni Collette maybe should have won, so I'm going to lean towards Toni Collette in Hereditary. Only on that level alone. But Lupita is amazing. Amazing in Us. All right, Chris Feldman writes, has any TV show had more lives than The Brady Bunch? It started out as a sitcom in the 1960s, became a kid's cartoon. I didn't even know that, really. It was a kid's cartoon. And a variety show in the 1970s, a TV movie in the 80s, and a drama in 1990. And now they have a reality show restoring their original TV house, all with the original cast, 50 years. Seriously? I remember seeing a picture recently of like the restored original house with a bunch of the original cast members in it. But I thought that was just for a photo. I'm not completely connected to television. Everybody knows it. But I remember seeing that picture, but I thought that was just for a photo shoot. Honestly, I didn't know they're going to do wait a second. They're doing a reality show in the original house with the original cast. That's crazy. I had no idea, Chris. See, I learned something new every day. I had no idea that was actually going on. That's a little bit crazy. Let's see. Richard Karate writes, best Richard Burton performance, your thoughts? That's hard to tell. I've said different. I've been asked that question before, and I go back and forth a little bit. Obviously, it's probably maybe his most iconic one is with Elizabeth Taylor in Cleopatra. I got to go Beckett. One of the main reasons I'm going to go Beckett is maybe a little bit of a biased reason, but he's also starring alongside the King, playing the King in the movie, was one of my all-time favorite actors in Peter O'Toole. So there's that. Virginia Woolf. Spy Came In Out of the Cold. Is that the proper wording of the title? Anyway, he's done a lot of them, but I'm going to go with Beckett. Rich Karate writes, best Ron Perlman performance. To me, that's easy. It's Sons of Anarchy. Now, that was Emmy-level stuff. What he did for 7 seasons in that show, or was he in it for 6? Anyway, I can't remember if he died in 6 or 7. Anyway, what he did in that show was, in my opinion, Emmy nomination worthy of that. Now, he was also, one of my favorite performances of Ron Perlman was actually in a movie he had a very small part in, but he was brilliant in it, even though it was a small part. It was Enemy at the Gates that he did with, I believe, Jude Law, and I think Ray Fiennes, Joseph Fiennes. I think Joseph Fiennes was in that too, if I remember correctly. Anyway, he was brilliant in that, and I loved him in that. Oddly enough, Ron Perlman's has never had any awards consideration, really. The thing he really got awards consideration for, though, was that TV show he did in the 90s, Beauty and the Beast, when he played Vincent. That's the only role he's ever done that really got, I think it got him a Emmy nomination. I think it got him a Golden Globe, playing Vincent in Beauty and the Beast. It's hard. It's weird to think about a guy with the career of like a Ron Perlman. That's the one he got his most awards acclaim for. Anyway, Richard Karate writes, could we get a big screen Xena Warrior Princess movie reboot? And if so, who could you see playing her? Well, I'll just ignore that part, Richard. You know me. I don't care about which X actor should be in X movie. I don't care about that stuff. Could we see, theoretically, could we see a reboot in a movie version? Well, here's the thing. Whenever you ask, could, the answer is always yes. It's always yes. I mean, you could ask me, John, could your camera be doused with a solar flare and grow legs and become a man-eating camera monster? I suppose it could. So the answer is always yes. Now, with something like a Xena Warrior Princess, there's additional reasons to feel optimistic about that. It's an established IP. It's got some nostalgia attached to it, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't think it's likely. That we'll get one. But it's not impossible. And it's not just the camera could sprout legs and become a people-eating camera monster. I mean, it's got some other things going for it. So let's put it this way. I don't expect there to be a Xena Warrior Princess movie made, Richard. But if they did announce one tomorrow, I certainly wouldn't be shocked. All right. Sorry. And then, sorry, I just blew by your last part because I don't care. I don't do X actor and X role questions. But I could see. I would love Sofia Boutella. No, way too physically small. I don't mean muscular, but like Xena is supposed to be this very large, like a warrior, overbearing princess. Or Olivia Munn. I'm going to assume you mean Olivia Munn. I don't think she's a strong enough actress to carry a movie on her own, to be quite frank. She's done some stuff that shows she is better than we first thought, but I still don't think she's a good enough actress to carry a movie on her own. So I wouldn't be excited about either of those names. Rich Cardi also writes, best actor without an Oscar, Ben Foster. Listen, I love Ben Foster. I have been lauding Ben Foster for about a decade. I've been telling people for over a decade he is one of the most underrated performers in the business. But to me, there's no question. There's simply no debate to me that the best actor right now today without an Academy Award, he is one of the best of the best of the best, is Ralph Fiennes. And now I know a lot of you guys only know him as Voldemort, but outside of Voldemort, he is one of the best actors on the planet. Ben Foster's great. I love Ben Foster. But to me, it's not even close. The best actor in the world today without an Academy Award is Ralph Fiennes. That's just my opinion, though. It's a great. I always love visiting those best actor without a currently, because we always used to say it was Gary Oldman, right? We always used to say it was Gary Oldman, and then along came his portrayal as Winston Churchill, and he won his Academy Award, so that changed the discussion. Now I believe it's Ralph Fiennes. All right, Richard also writes, John, thoughts on Cain Velasquez in the WWE and his first match being a World Heavyweight Championship match with Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel? We've known for a while that Cain Velasquez, former UFC heavyweight champion, two-time, I believe, former UFC heavyweight champion. We've known that Cain Velasquez was transitioning to professional wrestling. His body is just broken down too much for UFC. I mean, he's been sidelined with so many. It's really too bad because he could have been one of the greatest of all time. And he was just great already, but he could have been one of the greatest of all time. He had all the tools. But we've known for a while he was transitioning to wrestling. He's been doing some luchador wrestling. Then he shows up in WWE. He, of course, was the guy who beat Brock Lesnar for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. So they've got a natural background there. So it's just marketing. It's just a big marketing play, but it's a brilliant marketing play for sure. And you know what? If Cain Velasquez can parlay his UFC success into his post-UFC career by doing professional wrestling, more power to him. More power to him. All right. The Scumbag of New York writes, hey, John. Hope you're having a fine day. I am having a fine day so far. My friend, thank you so much for asking. Just saw Sorry to Bother You last night, and ye gods, you were right. What did I just watch? I'm sorry to bother you, despite the fact that I am a big fan of a number of the players in that movie. And I was so excited for that movie. You guys remember, if you watch my show, you know I was really excited about Sorry to Bother You. That movie is a fucking disgrace. That movie's a terrible piece of garbage. Now, I don't mean to offend anybody who enjoys that movie, because I know a number of people personally that really like it. And if you really like it, that's awesome. All film's subjective. If it hit you in a certain way that it really spoke to you and it worked for you, awesome. I celebrate that. I thought it was tremendous shit. Just absolute shit. But I don't know. I wanted to like that movie so bad. But John, you just didn't get it. No, I got it. It's just terrible. So, I mean, if you liked it, great. I'm not trying to talk anybody else into not liking it. I never want to, what does Chris say all the time? I don't want to yuck on your yum. Is that what Chris says? I think Chris says it all the time. I don't want to yuck on your yum if you really like it. That's great. But oh my God, I walked out of that movie bewildered. It's like, how did that get made? It's so awful. It's so awful. Anyway, that was just me. All right. The Kosan writes, I haven't heard you talk about NHL for some time. Do you still follow it? Dude, I follow it more than you'll ever possibly know. Thing is, Not a lot of my American brethren really watch soccer. They don't watch soccer either. Don't watch hockey, don't know anything about hockey, so I don't bring it up too much. But I have talked about it more this year than I normally do. Because even though they're starting off 4-3, I believe this is going to be the Leafs' year. I believe by mid-season they'll find their stride. I think they're going to torque it to the playoffs, and I think they're going to do real damage in the playoffs. I think there's a legitimate chance we see the Toronto Maple Leafs for the first time in my lifetime in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's never happened in my lifetime. Since I've been alive, the Toronto Maple Leafs have never been, the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports has never even been to the finals. Never even been there, let alone won. It's a great year so far for the Edmonton Oilers, too. The old Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry legacy team. They're 7-1 right now. 7-1. Now, I don't expect them to win 7 games for every 1 loss for the rest of the season. They'll hit some skids for sure. But they're looking good. Buffalo's looking great this year. Holy crap. Yeah, I followed very, very closely. I just don't talk about it a lot on the show. All right. Let's see here. Harry Mudd writes, I've noticed in every animated Superman feature, Lois Lane has either purple eyes or purplish. I've never noticed. I don't watch a lot of the cartoon stuff. I'm a fan of cartoons. I don't watch a lot of either the Marvel or DC cartoon stuff. I don't like either of them very much, to be honest with you. But I've never noticed that. If that's true, Harry, that's actually a pretty interesting observation. I wonder what's behind that. If that's true, I honestly wonder what's behind that. All right. ZMG Ruler writes, maybe they're making a Barney biopic about the suit guy. Yeah, so the guy, talked about this the other day. I forget his name now. True story. Did you know the guy who played Barney, the dinosaur, will actually now have sex with you for $350? He is a tantric sex guru. And for $350 a session, he will give you multiple orgasms. I'm not making this up. You can go look it up. Go look it up. If they make it about that, then suddenly you've got your R-rated Barney film. All right. McDavid deserves better. Speaking of the Oilers, 8 games in, the Oilers are first in the league standings. As much as I'd love to drink the Kool-Aid, I've been conditioned to expect impending disaster. Well, yeah, look, it would be foolish to think that the Oilers, who I believe are 7-1, are going to maintain that kind of a streak. They're not going to maintain that sort of a record. They're going to hit slumps and whatever, but I'm telling you what, it's not just that they're winning. They look good. They look good. You know, in not so recent years, or in recent years, not only have they lost games, they've lost games looking quite bad. They are not just winning games, they're looking good winning these games. Which tells me that, of course, it's sports. You're going to lose some games, but I think they'll rebound. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. And I'm not saying they're going to go to the finals. But they are going to have a solid year. It's the eye test. You can just tell by watching them play. They've made it to the next level. They've leveled up. They really have. And they're playing an exciting brand of hockey again, and it's going to be fun to watch. Ryan Lohner writes, just introduced my parents to Deadwood. Nice. They immediately got hooked and binged it, despite the material usually not being their thing. Still one of the greatest mysteries in the history of television. Deadwood, which many people will say was the best thing on television at the time. I believe, 3 seasons? It was 3 seasons, right, before they pulled the plug? Very expensive show to make, apparently, but 3 seasons, pulled the plug, got the follow-up movie. I still haven't watched the follow-up Deadwood movie. Still haven't watched it. I'm just so far behind on watching things at home. It's crazy. I just don't get around to it much. But that was a damn good show. That was a damn good show. And I was late to the party for Deadwood, too. I only binged it a few years ago. It's about 4 years ago, I think, that I binged Deadwood. I'm like, holy crap, now I see what all the hype... This show is great. Anyway, so I'm not surprised, Ryan, that your parents got hooked on it. Harry Mudd writes, Richard, Hellboy, and Vincent... Oh, I wouldn't know. Hellboy's not one of his best performances. Come on. You may love Hellboy the movie, but that was not exactly Ron Perlman's best thespian work in Hellboy. I mean, if you feel that way, you feel that way. I'll counter it, though, and say I don't know. But yeah, Vincent, who knew? Vincent in Beauty and the Beast is the one that actually got him his only awards consideration really in his career, which is kind of crazy to think about. Quinn Fowley writes, and sends in a really big super chat. Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate the support, brother. If Daniel Kaluuya's new Barney movie doesn't revolve around Barney retiring from helping kids solve their problems to build a tantric sex empire with Baby Bop and BJ, consider my ticket already refunded. Again, remember, the Mattel executive said, we're going to subvert expectations of Barney. Really, you're going to subvert expectations. It's not going to be a bright purple dinosaur singing happy songs to kids. Well, yeah. Well, then you're not subverting expectations. But this, Quinn, this right here, retiring from the kids stuff to going to build a tantric sex empire with Baby Bop and BJ. There's your subverting expectations right there, my friend. That is subverting expectations. All right. Derek Large writes, which is more iconic, De Niro's You Talking to Me or Pacino's Hoo-Ha? I'm going to go with De Niro's You Talking to Me. That's had a bigger, I believe, pop cultural footprint than Hoo-Ha. The You Talking to Me, I've seen that parodied in at least 3 or 4 dozen TV shows, movies. You Talking to Me? I've seen that done so many times in so many movies in so many ways. And on that level, I'm going to say that's probably the more iconic. It's got the bigger pop cultural footprint, I think. All right. Chris Feldman writes, I found a few smaller, older films recently that I really like. Saved by Mandy Moore. I always told people about Saved. That's a great movie. I love Saved, especially when you understand my background. I thought Saved was excellent. Pieces of April with Katie Holmes. I'm not familiar with that one. And Paper Heart with Michael Cera. But Saved, again, because of my background, I got a big kick out of it. I got a big kick out of Saved. It's a solid movie. It's a fun movie. I'm glad you saw it. I'm not really familiar with Pieces of April, but Katie Holmes is a good little actress in her era. Slim Trav writes, saw that Marvel, BW, I guess that's Black Widow, and Eternals, DC, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84, and Sony, Morbius and Venom 2, all have 2 comic book films each in 2020. Guess next year is anyone's year. It really is. This is the first year in a while that we can't just say, well, this is automatically Marvel's year. I'll be honest with you. I think the Black Widow movie is a little bit of a question mark. I think Eternals is a little bit of a question mark. Birds of Prey, I don't have a lot of hope for, but Wonder Woman 84, Patty Jenkins directing, I think that's going to be really solid. I really enjoyed the first Venom. Now you got Andy Serkis in there directing it. I love the direction that seems to be going in. Morbius, who knows? That's got some question marks over it. Look, if you had to put on odds, I'd still say Marvel is the favorite for that to be their year. As far as who's going to put out the bigger movie, the best movie, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, it could very well be Wonder Woman 84. It could very well be Venom 2. It could very well be Eternals. It is an up for grabs kind of year. And it's not been often that we've seen that. Not been often that we've seen that, but it is a little bit up for grabs. By the way, guys, there's going to be over 200 movies in wide release that enter nationwide theaters this coming year, 2020. 6 of them are going to be comic book movies. How's that, Marty Scorsese? Are comic book movies invading us? Is there no room for other movies in our theaters because they're all being taken by comic book movies? There's 6 out of like 200. It's like 3%. Just a reminder, that's all. Chris Warden writes, I think it's time for Weidman to retire. Might be. He's 1-5 in his last 6 fights. All the injuries are adding up, and he hasn't been the same since he lost the title. It's true. He's not been the same fighter. Because look, when he beat Anderson Silva, that was no fluke. He was a dominant fighter when he was going in. Now, everybody thought it was impossible for Anderson Silva to lose. But I remember there were a couple of people, including George St. Pierre, who came out at the time and said, Chris Weidman is for real, and he's going to win that fight. Chris Weidman's going to win that fight. And he did. And then he beat him again. And he was, seriously, I think, a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the world for a while. But you're right, after he lost that title, he has never been the same. He's never been the same. Now, who did he fight in his last fight? But his last fight before last night, he was dominating that fight and then got taken out. I mean, it might be time for him to retire. I don't know. I'm a big fan of his. Maybe I'd like to see him take one more shot at it. It was his first fight at light heavyweight. He had never fought at light heavyweight before. So, and he was fighting top competition, it's not like he was fighting some tin can and lost. It was top competition, but yeah, man, it is sad because I love that guy. I think he's a great fighter, but once you get really rocked, a lot of times fighters get rocked and then they're never the same after that. And you're right. He has just not been the same since he lost that title. Anyway, Ben Rayner writes, over under 10% in 2020, you become a manager in movie trivia schmodown, 0. Is that something you'd ever do? Nope. Not at all. No interest in that whatsoever. I'm not poo-pooing anybody else who does managing in schmodown. Not at all. Not at all. It's just that's something I have absolute zero interest in. Zero interest in. What you might see me do in 2020 is get back on the desk and call schmodown matches with Christian. You might see that in 2020. You know, maybe you'll see me and Christian and Mark Ellis again doing. I did have a lot of fun doing those. I got to say, I had a lot of fun doing those. Maybe I'll come back and destroy these pretenders in there who pretend they know their Star Wars trivia. I am the guy who has beaten Sam Witwer twice. Just want to remind you. And the only reason I lost to Ken Knapsack in quadruple overtime in the giant schmodown movie Star Wars match that we had at Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. We went to quadruple overtime and we got asked a question about an animated voice, and the answer was a guy he had just interviewed a few weeks prior. The answer to the question was a guy he literally just sat down and did an interview with a few weeks prior, and so he got that, and I lost. Now, we might have gone to 10 rounds of overtime, and maybe he would have beat me later on with another question. Who knows? But, you know, as I told Christian, the Star Wars division is nice, but they're all just boys pretending to be men, all right? The Star Wars division right now is all just boys pretending to be men. That's all I'm saying. So for me to re-enter, like, say, the Star Wars category, stuff like that, it'd be like saying, hey, John, you want to go and have a fight with this grade 6 kid at the mall? No. Number one, there's no challenge. It's far too easy. And there's no honor in just beating up somebody who's so vastly your inferior. And there's just no honor in that. So, that's doubtful. But to see me on the table again with Christian calling matches, I really did. I got to say, I had a lot of fun doing that. That was something I used to have a lot of fun doing. With me and Christian, and whenever Ellis was in there or Ken was on, I was on the table with Ken a couple times. Ken's terrific at that as well. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. So you might see me do that, but I doubt you're going to see me doing anything else, including managing. I don't think you're going to see me do that. So there you go. I just intentionally shot a promo for Schmodown. There you go. Orange Hand writes, what is it about the playoffs, even for sports you don't like? Sorry, what is it about the playoffs, even for sports you don't like, that makes them great to watch? The atmosphere, the stakes, something else? Yeah, like, for instance, I don't like baseball. I don't even consider it a sport. I consider it a game. But I'll tell you what, playoff time, I get invested in baseball. There's something about it, because listen, professional sports, any sports, is real drama. It's real human drama. Because you're talking about two sides with individuals on each side who since childhood have dreamed of this moment, have trained and worked and sacrificed and bled for that moment to get there. And now here it is, something they've worked towards and dreamed about their entire lives. They have now come to this moment. You're in the playoffs. You're going for pennants. You're going for titles. You're going for Super Bowls. You're going for Stanley Cups. You're in that thing. And it's you against another group of individuals who've had those same dreams, made those same sacrifices, bled that same blood on the battlefield as you have, and only one of you can come out of it. That's drama. That is great real life storytelling right there. There is something magically enrapturing about, particularly when you get in the playoffs, when the stakes are so high that it really comes to fruition. And even for sports I don't really watch, baseball, soccer, when the World Cup comes around, I get very invested in the World Cup, even though I'm not really a soccer fan, because it's the real drama. Only then with the World Cup, it's on a global stage. There's something about the human condition of that I just found incredibly profound. So, for instance, last night, me and Ann and my buddy Sol, we were at the Americana in Glendale, and we were grabbed a bite to eat at the Cheesecake Factory. And we were in the bar area, and the TVs are on, and I, who don't really like baseball that much, I am glued to the game on the TV. Glued to it. Yeah, when playoff time comes around, man, it's just a different thing. I get all the more invested even in sports I don't like all that much, and that's probably why. Orange hand. All right. Steve Joseph writes, why do you think people misunderstand the Martha scene in BVS? I think a lot of people misunderstand the scene because they didn't portray it properly. Like, I got what they were going for with the Martha scene, but when you look at it and the way it unfolds, they did it in such a way that it's very easy for somebody to look at it and see it as ridiculous. It is. I instantly got it. I knew what they were going for. I understood what the whole Martha line was. I made a whole video on properly understanding the Martha moment in Batman versus Superman. But to everybody else's defense, it's portrayed in such a way that it would be very easy to take it the wrong way. And that's on them. That's on Snyder. That's on the filmmakers. That's on them. You know, it's your job as a filmmaker to not only tell the story, but tell it in such a way that it communicates the message you are trying to communicate. And if the audience takes a different message away from it, it's not the audience's fault for not getting it. It's your fault as a filmmaker for not communicating it right. Now, like I said, I got it, but I can totally see why a lot of people didn't. And that's just my thought on that. Steve Joseph writes, the year that Spider-Man in the Spiderverse came out, do you think it should have been nominated for Best Picture? Yes, I thought it was the third best movie of the year. I thought the best movie of the year was A Quiet Place. I thought the second best movie of the year was BlacKkKlansman. And I thought the third best movie of the year was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. A movie that I didn't even think looked any good. A movie that I didn't even like the idea that they were making it. And then I went to go see it and I'm like, oh my God. This is not just the best animated film of the year. This is not just the best comic book movie of the year. And yes, it is a better comic book movie than Infinity War. It's all subjective, that's my opinion. But to me, it is easily a better comic book movie than Infinity War. And I love Infinity War. It is one of the best movies of the year, period. I thought it was the third best movie of the year. As such, yes, I do think it should have been nominated for Best Picture. Now, it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Yay, that's a participation award. But it should have been nominated for Best Picture. Anyway. Steve Joseph writes, do you ever seeing an animated movie getting nominated for Best Picture? Well, it's happened 3 times. Do I ever see it happening? It's already happened 3 times. Of course, the first time it ever happened was Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast was the first animated film ever to be nominated for Best Picture. But it's happened 2 times since. I believe the 2 other films that were nominated were Up. Let me just double check that. But I believe Up was nominated for Best Picture. Let me just double check that, but I'm almost positive it was. Yes, nominated for Best Picture of the Year. And then Toy Story 3. Again, just making sure that was it. But I believe Toy Story 3 was also the third picture animated film nominated for Best Picture. Yep, it was nominated for Best Picture of the Year. So it's happened 3 times in recent history. I guess Beauty and the Beast isn't that recent, but like Up and just in the last 10 years alone, it's happened twice. So yes, it has happened. It's happened twice in just the last 10 years. So yes, I can see it happening again. Steve Joseph writes, were you good enough to play in the NHL? Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Not at all. No, I was not. I was pretty good, but I was about halfway there. Like if I was twice as good as I was, not 10 times as good, not 15 times as good, but if I was twice as good as I was, I think I could have played junior, which is the league you play in before getting drafted in the NHL. I was never anywhere within a sniff of being good enough to play in the NHL. No, absolutely not. If I was good enough to play in the NHL, I'd be playing in the NHL. I'd be coaching by this point. But no, I was nowhere near good enough. And again, I was only, maybe if I was twice as good as I was, I could have played junior, maybe. But I was a decent little player, but that's it. Decent little player for a kid. That's it. No, no. Was I everywhere near any of that kind of level? Nowhere near it. Not at all. Oh God. I mean, like every Canadian kid, I dreamed about it, but I was never anywhere near good enough to do that. All right. Chris Feldman writes, since Wanda was already introduced into the MCU as a miracle, not a mutant, any chance the X-Men will be introduced the same way? No, I don't think so. Remember, they did that with Wanda simply because they had no other choice. If they wanted to use the Wanda character, you weren't allowed to refer to her as a mutant or suggest a mutation or anything like that. You had to give her a completely different origin. But just because you did that with one little character does not mean you have to now do all the X-Men. Not to mention would undermine all the mythology of what the X-Men are, take away the main thing of what the X-Men are, mutants. So no, I don't see them doing that at all. I don't see there's no need to do it, and I don't think they would do it. I mean, nothing's impossible, but I can't see that happening. Thunder Knight 19 writes, I found Joker very depressing to ever revisit. A great movie, but not one I could ever go back to. You're not alone in that, Thunder Knight. You're not alone in that. My own wife felt the same way. My wife said, movie's great. I'm never going to go watch it again. It's just that kind of a movie. It's a kind of movie that's very, very heavy. It's very heavy. I like the way Rob puts it. Rob puts it, it's like, it's not a fun movie. It's a great movie. I love it. It's my number 1 comic book film of the year. It's in my top 10 movies of the year. I love this movie. But it's not one you can revisit. It's not one to say, hey, I got some free time this afternoon. I'm going to wander over and watch Joker again. Now, some people will, and some people have. But I think there's going to be a lot of people, which is why when the question came up the other day, somebody asked me if I thought Joker was going to hit the $1 billion club. And I said no for a couple of reasons. I mean, hell, I didn't think Aquaman hit the $1 billion club either, and it did. I didn't think Venom would hit 800 million, and it did. But the reason I don't think Joker will hit $1 billion is 2 main reasons. Number 1, it simply doesn't have the rewatchability. It's a great movie, but a lot of people who love it won't go back to watch it again. The second reason is it's not getting a Chinese release. These are big things. These are big, big deals. So it might become the number 1 R-rated film of all time, box office wise, but I don't see it getting that. So no, you're not alone, Thunder Knight. That's the point. You're not alone. All right, Harry Mudd writes, haven't seen Schindler's List for some time. I think I should go rewatch it again soon. Speaking of which, that's another one. Like, Schindler's List is one of the greatest motion pictures ever made. It's a all-time great. I haven't watched that movie in at least 10 years. And I don't know that I can ever watch it again. It's brilliant. It's wonderful, but it's just, it devastates the soul at the same time. I felt the same way about Detroit. That was out 2 or 3 years ago. Brilliant film. Brilliant movie. Should have got more Oscar consideration than it did. But I was never able to watch it a second time. Because it devastates the soul. And that's another movie that's like that, man. So yeah, I'm with you, Harry. I haven't seen it in a while. Someday I should watch it again. I just don't know if I ever can. Steve Joseph writes, do you like the Multiverse and Flash TV show? No, not really, but on a level it works because CW is so silly anyway. Like the CW Arrowverse, well, I eat it up and I love Black Lightning and I love Flash and I've been off and on with Arrow, but it is also a very silly universe, right? But it's fun and it's charming. And so I enjoy it and I watch it regularly. But it's also very campy and very silly. And they do a lot of nonsense in it that you couldn't get away with if you try to suddenly take it and pass it off as a DCEU movie. You know what I mean? Or as an MCU movie. It just wouldn't work. So the multiverse stuff in Flash, do I like it? No. Do I wish they got rid of it? Yeah. But at the same time, does it work on some level in a silly, light, little campy universe like the Arrowverse? Yeah. Yeah, it does. It works. It does. But I'd rather it go. I don't like multiverse stuff, generally speaking. Jonathan Sotelo writes, John, with a snap, Lord Brady snapped his fingers in his Patriots gauntlet and eliminated half the QBs in the AFC. Dude, I tell you, me and my buddy last night were talking about this. We were talking about the fact, and let me see if I can bring this up because my buddy also gave me a gift. I want to show it off here. We were talking last night about this has not been a good year for QBs, man. I mean, they have been dropping left, right, and center between, Foles comes over, out right away. Drew Brees, one of the greatest of all time, out. Patrick Mahomes, now out. Ben Roethlisberger, out. It has been a laundry list of QBs getting devastated. It's been a rough year on that level. Anyway, I want to take this as an excuse. I pulled this off my Twitter page, but my buddy Soul came over, he's from the Boston area, so he's a big, he and I watched a lot of Patriots games together. He brought me over a gift because he knows I like Pops. And he brought me these 4 Pops last night. All exclusives. 3 different Tom Brady Pops. The GOAT, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all time. And the Gronk. One of the Gronk. So 3 exclusive Tom Bradys. Completely different exclusive Tom Bradys. And one of Gronk. It's a wonderful gift. It is a glorious gift. I was so happy that my buddy brought that over. But yeah, man, he snapped his fingers. The mighty Brady snapped his fingers, and like half the QBs in the league went down. It's been rough, dude. Seriously. And I want the Patriots to beat the Chiefs. I do, but Patrick Mahomes is a special player, man. I want him back playing quarterback, dude. I want to be entertained watching this dude do some really crazy stuff. He's great to watch, and I hope he's back under center here pretty quick. Jonathan also follows up and writes, not sure if you saw What We Do in the Shadows TV series. Not yet. No, I haven't. Ann loves it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Favorite episode is when the Vampire Council shows up. Awesome cameos. Haven't seen it myself, but I will keep my eyes open for it. All I know is that I love the movie. You guys know I don't have a ton of time for television, but I do love the movie. And my wife just says the show is absolutely terrific. All right, Casinema Reviews writes, from Mortal Kombat 11, Shao Kahn, you will serve me, Cyborg. Terminator, what is your mission? Shao Kahn, to crush my enemies and see them driven before me. Nice. Of course, the full line from Conan is... The Taskmaster says, Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That's the full line. But if they actually pull a little bit of that out in Mortal Kombat 11, that's cool. I haven't seen any of the cutscenes, but that's a pretty cool thing to throw in there. Now I got to go look it up because I got to hear that. That sounds pretty fun. All right, Tom Wyenberg writes, didn't like Gemini Man at all. Don't blame you. Like the high frame rate and de-aging, though it dipped a little too much into the uncanny valley at times, particularly at the end of the film. But the rest was so bad. I did get a kick out of seeing the Liga train station at the very start, though, because I travel through there twice a week, so that was cool. Yeah, listen, I got a kick out of Gemini Man just because I thought The action sequences were great. I got a kick out of seeing the two Will Smiths, one very younger, one his current age. I got a big kick out of that. I did. But everything else about it as a motion picture is pretty piss poor. So I came out of it going, okay, I enjoyed myself a little bit, but it's not a good movie. I mean, overall. So I got a kick out of it. I'm glad I saw it from a technical element point of view and from the action and stuff like that. But you're right, man. I mean, there's a lot of that movie that's very, very rough. Anyway, something I did love. Panther Pachali, 1955, first film of the Apu trilogy. Satyajit Ray saw it in film analysis class and was utterly captivated. I've never seen it. I can tell you right now, I've never seen it. But it's always good when you can find these little treasures in the dust that you can find and enjoy and treasure. So I'm glad you enjoyed that, Tom. All right. Dan Ho writes, I just rewatched Man of Steel last night, and damn, that movie is aging so well. Do you think if it was released in today's world instead of 2013, would it still have gotten the criticisms it did? I don't know. Because here's the thing. I still don't understand. Look, all film is subjective, so I accept that a lot of people didn't like Man of Steel. I accept that. And if somebody didn't like it, that's cool. But there are many, like we were just talking about Gemini Man, right? There are a lot of movies that I can enjoy, but I can also then totally see and understand why somebody else would not. There are also movies that I really don't enjoy, but I can see why somebody else would. Man of Steel is one of those movies that while I completely accept a lot of people don't like it, and that's the subjectivity of film, it's one of these films where I just don't get the hate that it got. I think this movie is brilliant. And I just don't understand. I seriously don't get the criticisms it got. I really don't. And I accept that it did. I understand the principle of subjective nature of film. But I can look at, again, let's say Warcraft, the movie Warcraft. I still enjoyed it, but man, I get why a lot of people didn't. I really do. I get it. I got a kick out of Suicide Squad, but it was a hot mess of a movie. I can totally understand why a lot of people didn't like it. Man of Steel is one I will never wrap my head around. I think that movie is bloody brilliant. I like it more every time I see it. I think it is the single most underrated comic book movie of all time, but you guys know that. So the answer to your question, Dan, is I don't know, because in 2013, I would have thought a lot more people would have loved it. All the way back in 2013. So I'm as flabbergasted that people didn't like it back then as I would be today. So I honestly don't know what the answer to that question would be, Dan. It'd be curious to see, but I just don't know. All right. Harry Mudd writes, my favorite character in Flash is Cisco. Cisco is, I'll say this, the first 3 or 4 episodes of Flash, I didn't know what I thought about Cisco and Caitlin. I thought they were just kind of weird little tag-along sidekicks, and I wasn't quite into them. I've grown to like them both very much, and Cisco is great. Trev8 writes, you have to watch one movie from the Unholy Trinity, or your breakdance video will be leaked. Will it be Highlander 2, Battlefield Earth, or Catwoman? Probably Catwoman. Probably Catwoman. I mean, because at least then I get to see Halle Berry. So there you go. I'll go Catwoman for no other reason than to see Halle Berry. Let's see. John, I know Tom Hanks. I know Tom Hanks and can introduce him to Anne on one condition: you have to release all of your breakdancing footage to the public. I've had so many people say that to me, Alex. Seriously, I've had so many people say, John, if Tom Hanks said he would allow you to bring Anne to go meet him, would you, but on one condition that you'd have to release your breakdancing footage, would you? I've had so many people say that. No, I don't think that would happen. To be honest with you. Madhu Vatten writes, finally finished Breaking Bad. Time for El Camino. I still haven't watched El Camino. So I haven't seen it. And I'm interested. I just still haven't gotten around to watching it, though, and for whatever reason it is. I still haven't got there. Harry Mudd writes, Trev, Battlefield Earth, at least I'll get a laugh out of it. You can get a laugh out of any of them. That's the thing, Harry. They're all so bad, you can get a laugh out of just about any of them. All right. Alex Haya writes, one of these movies you get to own and watch whenever you'd like. Another you can watch one more time in your life. The third you have to erase from existence. Man of Steel, Logan, and the Avengers. Well, I personally think the best movie, it's hard because I think Logan and Avengers are both top 3. I think the top 3 comic book movies ever made, in no particular order, are Logan, the Avengers, and The Dark Knight. I think those are the 3 best comic book movies ever made. So that's a tough one. So Man of Steel, I love Man of Steel. Whew. You know what? I'm going to pass. I can't bring myself to take any one of them out. Just can't do it. Alex then follows up, writes, if you've never been, and sends in a really large super chat. Thank you so much, Alex, for that, man. If you've never been to Pandora at Disney World, I can't recommend it enough. Flight of Passage is the greatest ride I've ever been on. You feel 120% feel like you're flying around Pandora. No question, your brain is tricked. I have never been to, I've been around Disney World in Florida, but I've never gone into Disney World. I've obviously gone to Disneyland a lot in California. Never been to Disney World. However, recently my wife flew out to Florida to do some charity work on behalf of Hasbro. And while she was there, she went down to Disney World and she's gone to the Pandora thing. And she said it was amazing. So I'm curious. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So at some point I might have to just get myself down there. I mean, I can't really afford to fly to Florida, go get a hotel just so I can go to Disneyland, just so I can see Run Ride. But I will definitely keep an eye open though, moving forward, for an opportunity to get down to Florida just for that, because I've heard nothing but stunning things about it, Alex. And I love these things, whether it's Galaxy's Edge or Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, whatever, that can make you feel immersed in a movie universe. I love that. I've liked it very much with the Potter and Galaxy's Edge. Hopefully the same thing would happen with Flight of Passage. So if I get the opportunity, I will do it. If I get the opportunity. All right. Will writes, hey, John, saw Uncut Gems last night. That's the new Adam Sandler film. And it's top 5 of the year for me. Nonstop gut punches to the audience, and Sandler is effortlessly brilliant. It looks great. Has it now dropped? Like, did you see a special screening of it, or is it officially been released? I honestly never know with Netflix. I never know. If it's already released, I gotta check it out, because the movie looks incredible. The movie looks absolutely incredible. So, gotta check it out. I'm glad you liked it, man. Good to hear a positive response from it. All right. Alex also writes, in fact, the park, talking about the Avatar park, the park ignited a big interest in the Avatar sequels for me, which is saying a lot, because I thought the first one, while grand technical achievement, was otherwise pretty bland. Listen, these parks can do that, because I am not a Potterhead by any stretch of the imagination. I enjoy the Harry Potter movies, but I'm no Potterhead. But whenever Ann and I go to Universal Studios Hollywood, which is only a 15-minute drive up the street from us, and we go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I tell you what, even though I'm not a major Potterhead, I feel like going home and watching a Harry Potter movie. Whenever I go to Galaxy's Edge, I feel like going home and watching a Star Wars movie. When you can get immersed in those things, it can increase that interest in you, right? And I have no doubt that an Avatar style ride like that would do the same thing. No doubt that an Avatar style ride would do the same thing. All right. Marie Seifring writes, I never got to see the original Zombieland, but Zombieland Double Tap sounds fun. Will I be able to follow Zombieland Double Tap without seeing the original? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because look, there's very, very little story to the movie. All this movie is a random collection of scenes meant to set up gags. That's all it is. But it's pretty entertaining at doing it. I enjoyed myself watching Zombieland Double Tap. So I can tell you without hesitation, you will have no problem just walking into that movie and watching it cold. You might catch a little bit more of the nuance in a couple of scenes if you watch the original, sure. But do you need to see the original to go in and watch this one and really enjoy it? Not at all. You'll be able to just walk in and watch this and have a good time with it. I certainly had a good time. It's a dumb movie. no depth to it whatsoever. But for what it is, they do a pretty damn good job, and I walked out pretty damn entertained, and I think you will too, Marie. All right. Alex writes, my friend and I are considering starting up a movie-related podcast. Any tips on how to promote it and get it out there for people to hear? All right, Alex, listen, I'm going to tell you something as a movie fan, loving brother, and I say this in love, all right? I say this in love. You are completely asking the wrong question. You are completely asking the wrong question. And you are starting off on completely the wrong foot when your first question is, how do we promote it and get people to listen to it? If that's where you're starting with, dude, scrap your plans right now. Just scrap them. Reevaluate, come back later. When I talk at conferences or do panels and stuff like that on the things about, because, look, I am by clearly no means the world's biggest success on YouTube by any stretch of the imagination, but I have started and grown 3 YouTube channels to over 100,000 subscribers. Some to more than that, but I've done it 3 times. I've had a relatively successful website. I've had relatively successful podcasts, relatively successful YouTube stuff. All relatively. There are many, many who are much, much bigger than me and much, much better at it. But one of the things that I always say at these things is that the first question I get from people is always the same fucking thing. And it's basically, how do I get everybody to watch my show? How do I get everybody to come and click on my blog? How do I get everybody to listen to my podcast? And it's like, as soon as you say that, and again, I'm telling you this in love, Alex. I'm telling you this in love. I immediately know you are completely starting off on the wrong foot. Because you know why? You didn't just ask me a question about how do you make a good podcast. You're asking me, how do I get people to listen to it? Everybody who gets started, and I tell everybody this all the time, and I talk about it I've got a 2-hour video up on YouTube about getting started in blogging, podcasting, and YouTubing. And I tell this story, and it's true. Everybody wants to know, what's the magic button you push to get 5,000 listeners or subscribe? Dude, if you start there, you're starting in totally the wrong place. You shouldn't even be asking those questions. Dude, you don't even have a podcast yet, and you're asking, how do I get people to listen to it? You don't even have a podcast yet. And you're asking me, how do I get people to listen to it? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I never once in my career, when I was doing the movie blog or anything, I never once asked any question, how do I get more people to watch it? Make quality content. The questions you should be asking right now should be revolving around, how do I do this well? How do I grow as a content creator? How do I become more effective as a communicator in podcasting or blog writing or YouTube video making? These are the questions you should be asking, not how do I promote this and get people to watch it? Dude, you don't even have shit for people to listen to and watch yet. And here's the thing, you might suck. I mean, I say this all the time. Every new show I create might suck. You might suck. So why are you even bothering asking, how do I get people to come and watch it, when you haven't even done step 1 about finding out if you can even be good at it yet or not? And then even if you think, oh, we got started, focus all of your attention at being better at it. Don't worry about whether you get 1 person listening to your podcast or 4 people listening to your podcast or 10 people listening to you. Don't worry about that. Because you know what the worst thing that can happen is? Oh, okay, I give you some magic formula. Just sprinkle this fairy dust on your microphone. You'll have 1,000 people listen to your first podcast. Guess what? You do your first podcast, it's probably going to suck. Because almost all of us, our first podcasts usually suck. I know mine did. So when you do your first episode is probably going to suck. Well, great. I gave you the magic pixie dust to get 1,000 people to listen to it, and none of those 1,000 people are going to be back to listen to your next one. Don't worry about it. This is the first thing I always tell people who have decided to get started in doing blogging, podcasting, and YouTubing. Do not ask the fucking question, how do I get more people to watch? How do I get more people to listen? Because you've already shown me that you have no idea what you're doing. Your question needs to be, how do I grow in my ability to do this? How do I become more effective at this? How do I create better content? How do I take my own particular set of skills? Because we all have a unique set of skills. You have a unique set of skills. I have a unique set of skills. How do I take my unique set of skills that make up who I am and translate that into effectively making a piece of entertainment and content that people would enjoy listening to? Don't ask, how do I get people to listen to it? Focus on that. All right? That is my biggest piece of advice. Focus on that. Worry after you get like a bunch of podcasts in, maybe you've done 20, 30, 40, and you feel like you're growing, you're getting better. And then when you get to a point that you feel like, now I have created some content that I would be proud to present to an audience, then maybe you start asking the question about, okay, now how can I start getting audience acquisition? Too many people want to skip 5 steps ahead. They don't want to put in the work first. They don't want to develop it first. They don't want to first make sure they've made a piece of content that they can be proud to present to an audience, that an audience would enjoy, find entertaining, and want to come back to next week. You got to get there first. So, Alex, with all love, I tell you, stop asking that question. Don't ask that question. All right? Because right now your podcast is going to suck. It just is. Your podcast is going to suck when you start. Mine sucked when I started. Everybody sucks when they first start. So just assume your podcast is going to start. So do not worry about getting people to listen to your sucky podcast. Worry about making your sucky podcast an entertaining podcast. Worry about making yourself an effective communicator. And then after all of that work is done, whether that's 5 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, once you think, okay, I think I'm to a point now where I'm putting out some pretty good content. Now I feel like I've developed a lot. Now I feel like my show's gotten to a point that I'm good at. And I know I'm going on about this a lot, guys, but this is a very important issue to me, because I want more people getting involved in adding their voices to the online world, but I also want people doing it with the right expectations. Then, and only then. But I am telling you guys, every time I go and do these conferences, whatever, the very first question is never, how can I develop? How can I improve myself? It's always, how do I get my audience? How do I get an audience? Where's the magic button I press? Where's the website that I go subscribe to that will bring 5,000 viewers? That's always the first question. And it's like, dude, if that's where you're starting, wrong point. Wrong point. Start and exclusively focus for the first 6 months or a year on just making good content. Because no matter how good you think it is, your first few podcasts are going to suck. Mine did. Almost everybody does. Almost everybody does. Focus on getting it there and then worry about an audience. And that is honestly my biggest encouragement to you, Alex. So there you go. Anyway, let's see. Where'd we go? Harry Mudd writes, "It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage." One of the great quotes from Indiana Jones. I love that. It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage. Factual Opinion writes, "John, sell my brother on Battlestar Galactica 2004. Oh, I can't. Look, all I can say is that to me, it is the greatest show of all time. Honestly, to me, it's the #1 best television show ever made. Great sci-fi, great mythology, great action, great character development, great plot twists. It's just the best thing ever. But it's not going to work for everybody, so I can't sell somebody on it, unfortunately. Let's see here. Sorry, big jump. There we go. Okay, next up, Jason Ashcroft writes, "Hey, John," and sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Jason, for that. I appreciate that, dude. "I appreciate you doing a show today. It's my best friend's who was killed birthday." Oh, that's sad to hear. "Toughest day of the year for me. I've had a hard time coping with it, and it's been 3 years now. She was an angel, and thank you. Doing something to help me take my mind away from it. You have no idea how much your show helps. With that said, thoughts on the new Jared Leto news? I'm bummed as I enjoyed the portrayal of Joker." Well, first of all, dude, yeah. The last couple of years, I've had a couple of these anniversaries as well. And they're never fun. I mean, they're great in one way in that they're these little anniversaries of people that we've lost. They give us an opportunity to reflect and celebrate the life they had and the impact they made in our lives. I've had a couple of significant ones the last few years. Obviously, the one I've talked about a lot the last couple of years is 2.5 years ago. My best friend growing up passed away. And it was one of the things that finally made me go, okay, I need to quit my job because I wasn't happy. And because one of his big things in life was life is too short to be unhappy. Make choices to be happy. And when he passed away, it just made me really take stock that I wasn't happy with where I was at. And I wanted to make a change, and it kind of did that. And now, like every summer, the last 2 summers have been, they've been hard. Yeah, I think about him and I still get kind of anyway. And then of course, the passing of John Schnepp. And while he was actually gone prior to Comic-Con, it was during Comic-Con that they took him off life support and that he officially passed away. And so of course, this past Comic-Con, that's what a lot of us were thinking about. You know, these anniversaries come and they're hard, but they also give us a moment to stop and think about not just them as people, but also the impact they made. And it's something to kind of, it's a hard thing, but it's a good thing. You know, these anniversaries are hard things, but they're good things. But even though they're good things, doesn't mean they're not difficult to go through and to have. So my deepest condolences to you, Jason, for that. And yeah, now, getting on to the last part of your question there. Do me a favor, guys. If you're going to write in, let me know what the news is. Like, because this is what happened. It's happened a lot of times on my shows. It's been, John, what do you think about the, making up the name of I don't know, Pauly Shore News. John, what do you think about the Pauly Shore News? Well, maybe if you wrote in the question what the Pauly Shore News is that you want me to comment on, I could give you an answer, you know? So don't just, now the only thing I know about Jared Leto right now is that, you know, it's come out again that he wasn't happy with the Joker movie, but I don't know if that's the news you're referring to. So guys, please, just as a little aside, don't just write in, what do you think about that news? Make sure you specify what the news is so I know how to answer and I know what it is we're talking about. So the only Jared Leto news that and it's not really news that I know that I can think of is the fact that it's come out that he really wasn't happy about a new Joker. The thing is to me is, yeah, we talked about this a year ago, right? Like that's the thing. I've seen like all these headlines come out recently about, you know, headline, Jared Leto is unhappy that they made a standalone Joker movie. We talked about that a year ago. Like when this movie got announced, we did the big headlines that Jared Leto wasn't happy with it. And of course he wasn't happy with it. Warner Brothers serenaded him with promises of his own Joker standalone movie, and they were going to do this, and he put a lot into it. Now, whether you liked his Joker or not is irrelevant. He put a lot of work into it. He was told and made certain promises and all this kind of stuff. And then he found out they were doing something different. And so he was upset by that. I get it. I would have been upset too. He didn't get on Twitter and go on a tirade, screw this Todd Phillips Joker movie. You know, he didn't do that. But we found out behind the scenes he was upset. Of course he was. You would have been upset. I would have been upset. Of course he's upset. What I don't understand about this making the rounds in the news again is that we've talked about it. This isn't news. This came out a year ago. So now again, I might be talking about something totally different, Jason, than what you're referring to. It's because you just said the Jared Leto news. But if that's what we're talking about, I have no problem with the fact that behind the scenes, he was upset. Of course he was. I'm not saying I'm not glad they made the Joker movie. I'm so glad they made the Joker movie. But if you were him and you busted your ass for it, and you were made certain promises and you were told certain things would happen, and then to find out something else was happening, of course you'd be upset. But let's be very, very clear here. It's not like Jared Leto got on social media and started blasting the new Joker movie. It's not like he started making public statements insulting Joaquin Phoenix or Todd Phillips or Warner Brothers. This is all the stuff he kept behind the scenes, and he kept it to himself for the most part. He didn't go public with it. It was just between him and his representation, if it can even be believed, which, by the way, the official people are denying that it actually happened, but who knows? So I don't know. Anybody who blames Jared Leto is being a little bit hypocritical, because I guarantee you would have felt the exact same way. Like if you work at your job, I don't know, let's say you work at just for argument's sake, a potato peeling factory, right? And you get asked by your boss, hey, can you do this one particular potato peeling job? There's this job we want done. We think you've got the skills to do it. Can you do it? And you work really hard to do that particular job that they need done in the factory well. And then a year later, you found out, wow, that went so great. We're going to make a whole new position just for doing that, and we're going to give it to somebody else. You'd be pissed. You might not get on Twitter and social media and cry about your company and all that kind of stuff, but behind the scenes, you'll be pissed. So I get it. I do. I honestly get why he would be upset, if he even was. But again, it was a story that came out a year ago, and we talked about it a year ago, so I'm not quite sure why it came up again. All right, Darklock63 writes, Sci-Fi did a Banana Splits horror movie in 2019. Never heard of it. I have no idea what Banana Splits is, so I have never heard of it. Mike, somebody brought it up the other day too. I've still never heard of it. Mike Hole Trackers writes, TPM is love, TPM is life. I have no idea what TPM is. Sorry about that. Akeem writes, it dawned on me while watching Logan again yesterday, how the hell was Black Panther a Best Picture nominee and Logan wasn't? What a missed opportunity by the Academy. Well, look, you're talking to the wrong guy. The year that Logan came out, which I believe was 2017, I thought Logan was the best picture of the year. Not just the best comic book movie. I thought it was the best picture of the year. It is the only time I've ever thought in any year. Because a lot of people think I'm just all biased for comic book movies. That's not true. Only one time ever have I said that I thought a comic book movie was actually the best film of the year. And that year was 2000, I believe it was 2000, it might have been 2016, but I think it was 2017. In 2017, Logan. That was the best movie of the year. And I'm cool with the idea of it not winning Best Picture of the Year. That's cool. I still don't understand how it didn't even get nominated. I still don't even understand how that didn't even get nominated. I really don't. It should have been nominated for Best Picture. It should have been a serious contender to win Best Picture. But it got nothing. It got nothing, which... and yeah, look, I don't even think Black Panther was even the second best comic book movie of the year. The best comic book movie of last year was Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. The second best comic book movie of that year was Infinity War. The third best comic book movie of that year was Black Panther. And look, I love Black Panther. It's great. I really enjoyed that movie. You saw my reviews for it. I think it's wonderful. I didn't think it deserved a Best Picture nomination. And if you're going to nominate a comic book movie for Best Picture, it shouldn't have been T'Challa. It should have been Miles Morales. It should have been Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. That's the movie to me. If you're going to nominate a comic book movie that year, it should have been Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. And if not Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, maybe Infinity War, but I'm not even sure Infinity War should have been nominated for either. But hey, but that's the thing. It's subjective in nature. Because look, I know a couple of Academy Award voters. I know a few of them. And all of them love Black Panther. They loved it. None of them had any problem with Black Panther being nominated for Best Picture because they liked it more than I did. But yeah, from my point of view, as much as I love Black Panther, I didn't think it deserved to be nominated for Best Picture. I thought if any of them should have been, it should have been Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse had a double whammy against it. Number one, it was a comic book movie. Number two, it was an animated movie. That's a hard thing to overcome, but it still should have been nominated because I thought it was the third best movie of the year. But Logan absolutely should have been nominated that year. Jim Riley writes, do you think MCU Spidey movies will be on Disney Plus? I'm going to guess so. I don't see it. Like, that's just the best place for them to fit. So why not? Right? Look, Sony as the distributor, they have the right to put the Spider-Man movies on any streaming service they want. But I think even for them, it makes most sense to have those movies on the Disney Plus streaming because they fit in with the MCU. So yeah, I think they will. I think that's what it'll end up, but it's up to Sony. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, glad you're taking Sundays off from open mic. Yeah, at least I'm not saying I won't do any open mics on Sundays, but while the NFL season is on, it's going to be difficult for me to do open mics. While the NFL season is going on, it will be difficult for me to do open mics because that's taking up a lot of my Sundays. I love watching football. Sundays is a big day for relaxing, whatever. And so now I will probably still do the odd open mic on Sundays during the NFL season, but most of them I'll probably take off. And then once the NFL season is over, I'll probably get right back to it. Harry Mudd writes, I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Marlon Brando. Look, listen, a lot of people, and I get it, and it's understandable. A lot of people, when they think of Marlon Brando, they think of Godfather. Of course they do. That's totally understandable. But the dude did a lot of many. I could have been a contender. He did a lot of iconic roles. Academy Award winner, all that. I mean, he was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. And that is one of the more iconic. Somebody brought up the whole, the you talking to me line. I mean, you got to put it right up there. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. That's got to be right up there too with the pop cultural influence. Absolutely. Samuel Phoenix writes, hey, John, my trip is in New York. Watched Maleficent yesterday at AMC Clifton Commons 16, and we were maybe 20 in the theater at 10:15. Is that normal or bad? Let's see. When did you watch it? Yesterday. So Saturday night at 10:15, I mean, for the amount of money that Maleficent's going to make, a 10:15 showing, yeah, it's probably a little low. I probably guess that's a little low. I've only ever been to one movie theater in New York City, and that's the AMC Empire. I've been there a couple of times. Actually, I remember back in the day when I was working with AMC, we were looking for a New York correspondent because at the time we were still covering press junkets. I eventually stopped us covering press junkets because nobody cares about press junkets. But while we were still in an era when we were doing press junkets, and about 1 out of every 4 or 5 movies had their press junkets in New York. And we were going to fly somebody down to New York to go cover a stupid press junket. So I remember the first time I went to the AMC Empire in Times Square, we put up a posting saying we were looking for a correspondent in New York to go and cover press junkets there in New York for us. And so AMC Empire 16, they set up their big boardroom. I went down there and interviewed people for like 2 days straight, eventually hired somebody. And, we eventually weren't doing press junkets anymore. So that ended eventually anyway. And then I was down in New York again because, of course, I used to work for Complex, and they had their big annual Complex summit where all the Complex employees fly into New York City. And I went down to the AMC Empire again, checked out a theater there. It's a really interesting place, like 7 or 8. I can't remember how many floors it has. It's just floor after floor. But I've never been to any other ones there. Never been to any other ones there. Suthius writes, just read Zevia's cream soda flavor, or just tried Zevia's cream soda flavor. Delicious. I'm a big fan of Zevia. I got a Zevia right here. Actually, my cup's empty now. It is a grown acquired taste. Now, my favorite one is still just straight up their cola flavor, but their root beer flavor isn't bad either. And for those of you who don't know, Zevia, I was looking for a while for a soda replacement because I switched from regular soda to diet soda, but then I started learning about all the crap that's in and all the crappy stuff that artificial sweeteners can do to you. So I found this soda called Zevia that has no artificial sweeteners and no sugars and no artificial sweeteners either. And I've actually grown to quite like it. I quite like it a lot. You should check it out. BW Rosa writes, out of the official list for Disney Plus's launch, which shows and movies stand out to you to watch right off the bat? Well, I mean, look, it's a huge list, BW. I'd have to pull up the full list and look at it again. I remember we did that. If you want to know, we covered that on an episode of the John Campea Show maybe about 3 weeks ago. So you can go back and watch that, but without the list in front of me, it's hard to say. All I know is this. Disney Plus is launching with The Mandalorian. So that is what I am clearly most looking forward to. I am right now clearly most looking forward to Mandalorian. Now, they're also launching with, what was it? The Lady and the Tramp live action remake. Not so excited about that, I will admit, but I'm really stoked for Mandalorian, man. That's what I'm looking for. The rest of them, I would have to have the list in front of me looking at it, which I clearly don't have right now, unfortunately. But it is, gotta say this, BW, It is I remember a number of months ago, I said my big concern about Disney Plus is that it's going to launch with a really limited catalog. And that's unfortunate. They are actually launching with a much bigger catalog than I anticipated. Still nowhere near the size of Netflix or anything. But they are serious about this Disney Plus platform, man. If you guys haven't seen it, just go look up the list for all the stuff, the library that Disney Plus is launching with. It is a big, hundreds of titles, big, exhaustive, impressive looking list. Go check it out. Like, follow BW's advice and go check it out because there's a lot of good stuff on there. All right, Richard Rodriguez writes, love my LA Kings, but since our last cup, we are so bad. Yeah, well, listen, all teams go through cycles. By the way, don't cry to me, Richard. You are talking to a guy who in my entire lifetime, the Toronto Maple Leafs have never even been to the Stanley Cup Finals. All right? So don't cry to me. Oh, wah, we won some Stanley Cups and now we're not any good. Wah. My entire lifetime on this planet, the Leafs have never even been to the Stanley Cup Finals. So don't cry to me, Richard. Crying to the wrong guy. Boo-hoo. Poor LA Kings with their Stanley Cup rings. Boo-hoo. All right, Suthius writes, when a male character stumbles upon a female from behind, taking off her clothes, bathing, we see that as sexy. Why can't a female do the other sexy things like putting together a model kit or something? Let me try this again. When a male character stumbles upon a female from behind, taking off her clothes, bathing, we see that as sexy. Why can't the female do the other sexy things, like putting together a model kit or something? I see what you're saying. Well, Suthius, all due respect, brother. All due respect. The first thing's sexier. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like my wife being the dungeon master of our D&D group, that's sexy. That's sexy. But the other thing is sexier. Other thing is sexier. Like I'm sure to a lot of women, Justin Timberlake having great artistic whatever, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Ryan Reynolds, a lot of things sexy about him. But if you ask a lot of women, is that all these great things about Ryan Reynolds sexier, or is coming up behind him accidentally as he's showering, is that sexier? They will say that is sexier. For sure they will. These other things are sexy. But that first thing is sexier. So I'm just giving my 2 cents worth, Suthius. I'm just giving you my 2 cents worth. All right, Patrick Conway writes, living with yourself, so funny, creepy, and yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I don't watch much TV, guys. I don't watch a hell of a lot of TV. I watch some TV. I don't watch a ton. But I got to tell you, that Paul Rudd, I saw the trailer for Living with Yourself, and it looked pretty damn interesting. Now, there was a TV show, and I'm sure it's completely different, but similar in basic premise. There was this, I thought, really great little TV show a couple of years ago with Christian Slater called I think it was called My Own Worst Enemy, where he had two personalities and they would leave messages for each other. And so, I mean, I really liked it. And it only lasted one season, then it got canceled. But it reminds me a little bit of that, but I got to see that show. All right, BW Rosa writes, do you believe Frozen 2 will outdo Frozen 1? It's hard because Frozen 1 joined the $1 billion club, so it's going to be tough. But if I had to put a guess, I wouldn't put any money on it. I would not put any money on it, let's be clear. But if I had to guess, I'm going to guess yes, it will. Mark C. writes, speaking of Ron Perlman, he was great in the bizarre French film City of Lost Children. Have you seen that? I do not believe I have. Honestly, just as a fun one, you know what one of my favorite things his was when he was in Blade 2. I loved him in Blade 2 as well. Just saying, but no, I don't think I've seen that one. But Ron Perlman can... Listen, Sons of Anarchy is a brilliantly acted show. And Ron Perlman is seriously awesome in that show, playing Clay. He's amazing. If you have not watched, just watch it for that. I mean, he's so good in it. All right. NKS432 writes, I know you didn't like Titans, but watch Jorah's Barusi. I have no idea what we're talking about. Colby Harris writes, Hot Toys now has a Fat Thor figure. Over under Rob pre-ordered it. All right, time out. Hot Toys Thor. Fat Thor. Let me see if I can. Oh my God, look at that. Oh my God. That looks great. Oh, I get, listen. Oh yeah, look, I get, there's no plane in the multiverse where Robert Meyer Burnett does not get that Thor. There's no plane in the multiverse where Robert Meyer Burnett does not order that Thor. He's no doubt he's going to get that. All right. Ali Hussein writes, when do you think we're going to get our Alfred announced in the Batman? Before the end of the year or after? Oh, it'll be before the end of the year. They're starting to, there's all the casting announcements are coming out now. So we're getting it pretty cool. I'm not really all that concerned about who they get for Alfred, to be honest with you. Because I don't think Alfred's going to play a big part in the movie. But I mean, I don't know. I really like Jeremy Irons as Alfred, though. I did. I thought he had the potential for him, and Ben Affleck had the potential of some really great chemistry. I wish we could have seen that going on. But yeah, I would suspect, Ali. I would suspect that we'll get it before the end of the year. Marie Seifring writes, have you heard anything about the HBO series The Undoing coming in 2020? Suzanne Briere is directing, and Donald Sutherland, Hugh Grant, Nicole Kidman is cast. I've heard about it, but I know nothing about it. No, absolutely nothing about it. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find out anything more about it. David E. Kelly, though, who's had a ridiculously successful television career, he's the main guy behind it. But I honestly know nothing about it. Let's see. There's not even... Wait a second. Life for a successful therapist in New York begins to unravel on the eve of publishing her first book. Okay. Yeah, other than that, I know nothing about it, but David E. Kelly's doing it, so that means it's got some good pedigree behind it. Obviously, I really like Hugh Grant. Love Nicole Kidman, obviously. So we'll see, but I don't know anything about it other than that. Again, I don't follow television too awful much, but that one sounds interesting. Iggy Riaz writes, 100% over and under... Sorry. 100 over under. Web app goes down on Monday for Star Wars tickets. I'm going to guess under, way under, for a couple of reasons. The main one being the same reason they should not have crashed when Endgame tickets went on sale. They should have been better prepared. Now, I love AMC, but I gave them a very, very hard time when their systems crashed, because it's like, listen, you've known that Endgame was coming. You've already been through the thing with Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and everything about your systems being crashed and everything. You've had plenty of time to prepare and build the proper infrastructure to make sure that your systems can handle the load that's coming with those movies. And yet they didn't, and they had another kerfuffle when Endgame came out. I believe they will have their act together now. I believe all these ticket sales services will have their act together. And I believe... they're going to be able to handle it now, because that was such a fiasco with the Endgame stuff, and they've had, they're going to have had almost a year, a good 9 months since the Endgame tickets went on sale to when the Star Wars tickets go on sale to make sure they get their house in order. On top of that, I don't expect that the rush to get Star Wars tickets day one will be as big as the rushes there was to get tickets for Endgame day one that the tickets came out. So for those two reasons, I think there's a very good chance. There's still a chance that they will crash, but I also think because of those two reasons, I think there's a very legitimate chance that they won't crash. So fingers crossed at any rate. Mark C. writes, I don't know, John, at 6-2 with Crosby up front and Letang in back, my Penguins are looking good. Listen, the Pittsburgh Penguins are my second favorite hockey team all the way back to the Mario Lemieux days. And, Crosby's mom went to the same high school as my mom. There you go. We both come from Nova Scotia. Anyway, I love the Pittsburgh Penguins. Whenever the Leafs aren't in there, then I'm cheering for the Penguins. They've been my team since my childhood with Mario Lemieux and all that kind of stuff. And they always look good every year. So yeah, I'd never count out the Penguins, Mark. Never count out the Penguins. All right. Laugh Warehouse writes, I've always wondered, why doesn't the Disney opening logo appear in any MCU or Star Wars movies? I've always found it odd it never shows up. Why would it? It's not a Disney film. Disney owns the company making it, but the logo of the company making it is what shows up. Right? So that's not odd at all. Disney's logo pops up for Disney Picture films. For films made directly by Disney Pictures, the Disney logo shows up. But Disney, as the parent corporate company, they're not the studio making the Star Wars movies. They're not the studio making the Marvel movies. So those movies are not Disney Picture films. So there is no reason for the Disney logo to pop up in front of that, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. All right. Stubble McShave writes, I heard Star Wars Episode 9 is still shooting scenes. It seems a bit late for that. Do you know if that's accurate or just bullcrap? It's probably bullcrap, but honestly, it's October. It's still 2 months until the movie comes out. If they've got a few it's not unheard of to do a few pickup shots this late in the game. Look, so number one, I think it's probably bullcrap, but even if it's not, that's not totally unheard of. If it was 2 weeks before the movie was coming out, that's fine. I remember infamously before Avengers came out, I was talking, I did my interview with Joss Whedon, and he's like, I literally just wrapped the last thing on Avengers. And this was like 3 weeks. No, it was like 10 days before Avengers came out. And he was like, I literally just put the final thing on Avengers 2 days ago. And I'm still wrecked. I'm so tired. So 2 months out, not unheard of. Not unheard of. It's probably not true, but even if it is, it's not unheard of at this point. Tony Hurd writes, between DC and Marvel, 2021 has the potential to be a great year for comic book movies. Well, I mean, listen, every year has the potential to be a great year for comic book movies. Like next year, Black Widow, Eternals, Venom 2, Wonder Woman 84. Who knows? We might get 3 of the 5 best comic book movies ever made next year, right? We might. I'm not saying we will, but we might. But yeah, 2021 is also shaping up to be pretty damn good as well, my friend. Terry Giordano writes, AMC offering Star Wars marathon. Yeah, I saw that. Like a 20-something hour marathon. Starts December 18th, Wednesday, and runs into the premiere of Rise of Skywalker, which you get to watch a couple of hours sooner than most people. How about this as the ultimate endgame? What a way to end a 40-plus year journey. How much will it cost? I have no idea. For those of you who've missed it, though, they are running like a 20-plus hour marathon of watching like all the Star Wars movies. I have, just so you know, as big of a Star Wars fan as I am, I have no intention of being at that thing. I can't do that. Because when I watch Rise of Skywalker for the first time, I don't want it to be like this. Trying desperately to stay awake, being in this fog. That's not how I want to watch it the first time. So I will not be there for that as a part of that. But listen, man, there's some crazy maniacs that will. And if I wasn't so excited about my first viewing experience of the new Star Wars, maybe I would do it too as like a tailgating thing with my buddies and all that. It could be a lot of fun. But yeah, man, I can't do it. I can't do it because I want to be fresh when I watch Rise of Skywalker for the first time. But that's just, what the price on that will be. I'm going to guess, and I'm only guessing, I'm going to guess $40. My guess will be $40. I have no insider information on that. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting to see what that price tag, Terry, though, does end up being. By the way, Terry, this is a really big super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level. I appreciate it. And it is pretty epic. I got to say, I'm not going to be there myself, but it is pretty damn epic. There's no doubt about it. All right. Cameron V writes, I didn't like Watchmen the movie, but the TV series looks interesting. Thoughts? Yeah, again, I didn't love Watchmen the movie. I thought it was all right. I didn't like it all that much. But the series does look intriguing. You know, we talked about that a little bit earlier in the show today, Cameron. It does look intriguing. It's clearly deviates from the comic book. That's on purpose. And I'm hearing some decent things about it. So yeah, man, color me as being intrigued. I'm looking forward to checking it out. All right, Tony Hurd writes, after Paul Dano's casting, I'm super excited to see who they cast next for the Batman. And again, the next big casting piece of news is probably going to be Alfred. And again, I don't even know if Alfred has a big role or not. Maybe they'll get a major actor. Maybe they'll get more of an unknown actor. I don't know. That's probably going to be the next one that comes out. But we'll see. But I bet this week, sometime between Monday and Friday, we will get one more piece of Batman news. One more piece of Batman casting news. Between Monday and Friday, I think we'll get at least one more. We'll find out. All right, Todd Smith writes, do you think The Rise of Skywalker is going to be bad since they are still doing extensive reshoots and the movie releases in 64 days? No. No, not at all. Listen, we've had this conversation 1,000 fucking times. This is why all Marvel movies have reshoots. If you watch what you shoot, because listen, this is what Kevin Feige always says. We always know that when we shoot the movie, it's great on the page, right? We know we've got the movie we want on paper, but it's not until we shoot the movie and start looking at it in editing that we start to get a real feel for it. And fortunately, movies like Marvel movies and DC movies and Star Wars movies, they have the budgets that they can plan, sometimes minor, sometimes extensive reshoots to make their movie better. Most movies can't do that. Most movies have a budget. You shoot the movie and you just edit together the best movie you can with what you shot because you don't have the budget for anything more. Things like Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, and some other big movies like that, they always go in and do reshoots because they always have the budgets. And like, I always go back to World War Z. World War Z reshot, and by the way, this BS about extensive, throw that nonsense away. That's bullshit. But like World War Z was a movie that reshot 3/4 of the movie. But the end result of all those massive reshoots and everything was a much better film. World War Z was a really good movie. Not an all-time great movie, but I thought it was a really good, entertaining movie, and it ended up making them a lot of money. Solo ended up being really good because they did big, extensive reshoots. When these comic book companies, particularly, or these big genre productions like Marvel, like Star Wars, when they're doing reshoots, it's not because there used to be a day. There used to be a day when reshoots was a horrible, horrible thing because movies didn't have budgets to do them. And so if they did do reshoots, it meant the movie must be terrible. But that's not the era we live in now. Now we live in an era where, Venom was able to go back and reshoot a bunch of stuff, that Endgame went back and did a bunch of reshoots, that all these movies do reshoots because if they even have the slightest idea that they think would make their movie even a little bit better, they have the budget and the money being given to them by the studios to go and execute it. And if you got time for it, then go do it. So anything about, I've been saying this for years now, guys, when you hear about any of these big movies, whether it's a DC movie, a Star Wars movie, a Marvel movie, I don't know why there are still some people who go, oh, reshoots must be problems. That's not the era we live in anymore. That's just not the era we live in anymore. So no. I've heard nothing but good things coming out of them about this. I love what J.J. Abrams did with the first one. So no. And reshoots should never, and 64 days out is still plenty of time. It's plenty of time. So no problems with that at all. Now look, the movie might suck. Make no mistake about it. Just like any movie, the Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker might be a terrible film. But it has nothing to do with the fact that they're doing more reshoots. If they're doing more reshoots, by the way. All right, Stubble McShave writes. Where are we at here? Stubble McShave writes, I still remember you, Dennis, Soul, and Roth doing shows from home, sitting around a dining table. Been following for a long time. Time flies. Keep it up. Yeah, those were the For Your Consideration days. I love doing that. We used to do once a week, without all the great equipment or anything. We just used to get together. Mostly we shot them at Dennis's place. We would just go make a little makeshift set at Dennis's apartment. And me, Soul, Roth, Dennis, we did this little For Your Consideration show. I love doing that show. That was a lot of fun. It was after my movie blog days, but that was a lot of fun. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's good. It's good that you've been around that long. That is going back a ways, dude. That is going back a ways. All right. Louis Olivio just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you so much. Samir Durrani writes, The Farewell was great. Also have a good day. The Farewell was magnificent. Right now, it's my number 2 best movie of the year. We'll see if it's faded from a lot of people's consciousness. So I don't know if it's going to get a lot of Oscar buzz, but it should. To me right now, right now, it's the second best movie of the year, and it is wonderful. And I hope you have a good day too, Samir. Thanks for sending that in, man. Adam Last writes, have you seen Minding the Gap 2018? I thought it should have got the Oscar instead of Free Solo. Me and my girlfriend, good Canadian kid, love your content. No, I did not see it. And what should have won Best Documentary is Won't You Be My Neighbor or Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Whatever. The Mr. Rogers documentary should have won Best Documentary. No insult to Free Solo. That was amazing. Free Solo is incredible. But I did not have a chance to see Minding the Gap myself. Edwin Perez Mendez writes, thoughts about a Vince McMahon biopic. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Anybody, you can make a biopic about anybody. There certainly would be some interesting stories there to tell, but there's no way he gives up the rights to do those, for anybody to do those. Okay. J Moni J writes, hey, John, if Marvel plans to make an all-female team-up movie, what do you think about Patty Jenkins as a director, Danny Garcia as a producer, and Todd Phillips as a writer for that? Just X-actor in X movie, X-director doing X movie. I don't care. I don't care. Just get somebody good. Patty Jenkins is a good director, but there's 20 other good directors you can name that I go, yeah, that would be really good too, and blah, blah, blah. So that's my basic feeling on that. But Patty Jenkins is a terrific director. That's why I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 84. But there's 30 other directors you could put in there. Remember, guys, I generally don't like what do you think about X, unless it's already been announced. Like John, they've just announced that Edwin Twiddle is going to be directing such and such movie. What do you think about it? Okay, now I can give my opinion on that now that it's happened. But generally speaking, I don't like to get into what do you think about X actor in X movie or X director directing X movie, because my answer is always the same. As long as it's somebody who's really talented. It could be any one of 50 people, but as long as it's somebody who's really talented, I'm on board. So that's my feelings on that. Daryl Best Wadley writes, Jay and Silent Bob isn't playing. Wanted to see it. Yeah, it played for a very, very limited 2 days. Kevin Smith revealed the other day that they just didn't have the money to do a marketing campaign to justify a wide release. So you will have an opportunity, Daryl. You will have an opportunity to watch it at some point, but unfortunately our opportunities to see it in a regular theatrical run have come and gone very quickly, unfortunately. ZMG Ruler writes, Jesus symbolism and Man of Steel bothered people, not me. Yeah, I don't know why it bothered anybody. I mean, there was clearly an allegory there. So why did it bother people? I never understood. Never understood that. Noel Nguyen writes, new Star Wars The Old Republic expansion is coming. Really? Tuesday, if you want to get back into it. Can't wait to make Natolan Sith Sork. I got back into Star Wars The Old Republic maybe 3 years ago when they did their expansion with the twins. Remember that thing? I got back into it then, but it was short-lived. I played a lot of Star Wars The Old Republic when it came out. When that game came out, I played a lot of that game. I'll have to go and see if I can find... I didn't know they were still making expansions for it. I'm going to have to go and see if I can find some cinematics for that because, I don't know, maybe it'll get me back into it. Maybe it will. I don't know. We got a new Star Wars game coming out here too pretty soon, so I got to go check that out as well. Not to mention Red Dead is coming out on PC soon. I want to try that out as well. And I'm still playing Warcraft, so, I mean, I don't have a lot of time for... Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time. I maybe can sit down and play a video game maybe once every 3 days. I get a chance to sit down for like a half hour and play a video game. It's just... I wish I could had a little bit more time to work some more of it in. Tom Weinberg writes, watching Molly's Game right now. Love that movie. Aaron Sorkin's first directorial effort. I don't know why Molly's Game didn't get nominated for Best Picture. I really don't. Anyway, already with that opening scene, wow, Aaron Sorkin's the man. We'll let you know what I thought of it on Monday. I really enjoyed that movie. It's not like I thought it was a front runner to win Best Picture, but I really thought Molly's Game was really good, really good. And not just because I'm really into poker, although I'm sure that had something to do with my enjoyment of it, but I thought it was a brilliant movie. Harry Mudd writes, nobody tells me what to do. You keep needling me if you want to. I'm going to take this joint apart and you're not going to know what hit you. The Wild One. I'm honestly not familiar. I'll probably kick myself once I hear what that's from, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, Harry, I don't know that one. Clayton Fioridi writes, hey, John, Been watching you for years now. Thank you so much, man. And really love your stuff. You also introduced me to the Burnett work, which I now love as well. Out of curiosity, do you have a favorite Star Wars novel? It's the Thrawn trilogy. The Thrawn trilogy is my favorite, is my favorite series of stories. The 3 books, loved it. It's really the only thing in Star Wars Expanded Universe that was really, really worth it. But yeah, man, I forever love those novels. And they're not just out of, the out of canon novels, but even if you count all the canon ones. Other than that, Lords of the Sith is fabulous. Lords of the Sith is a fabulous, fabulous book. Lost Stars is terrific. I really enjoyed Lost Stars, but I'm still always going to go back to that Thrawn trilogy. Thank you for that, Clayton. Appreciate that, man. Nick writes, "Hey, John. Hope you and Ann are having a good weekend." We are, as a matter of fact. Thank you so much. "How's Lily and Shadow? Our dogs are doing great. Thank you very much. A few friends haven't seen Star Wars. Which order should they do a marathon?" Well, I always give the same answer. Theatrical release. So you start with the original trilogy. Then you can skip the prequels. Not everybody wants to do that, so that's fine. My recommendation is skipping the prequels. But honestly, original trilogy, always start with the original trilogy. That's always the answer I give. So boom, right there, original trilogy. Then you decide what you want to do after that. And then Nick also writes, "Final question of the day, guys." And then we're wrapped up here. Nick writes, "Over under 5%, there will be cameos from the prequels in episode 9. I don't know. I mean, like, there's a possibility we see Anakin, but technically speaking, Anakin is an original trilogy character. So then there's a possibility for Obi-Wan, since we've got an Obi-Wan series coming. Outside of those two, though, I would say very low. Outside of either Vader or Anakin Skywalker, however you prefer to call him. Outside of Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan, I think very, very small. But there is a possibility for each of those. So I will go over 5%. Not 50%, but I will go over 5%. All right, Ryan slips in one more here and writes, "Jason Mitchell as Eazy-E, Rami Malek as Freddy. Performance-wise, I just believe Mitchell more. Straight Outta Compton is my favorite music biopic." I love Straight Outta Compton. I do not think Jason Mitchell's performance was anywhere near as good as Rami Malek. So don't get me wrong. I thought everybody in Straight Outta Compton was great. I really enjoyed that film. But Rami Malek's performance as Freddie Mercury to me was by far on a different level. That's just for me. But these are 2 really good movies, and I'm not even big on biopics. And in particularly, I'm not usually big on musical biopics. But these 2 movies surprised me. I really like both of these films very, very much. So there's no loser there. But in my personal opinion, I'll take Rami Malek's performance over Jason Mitchell's. That's not demoting Jason Mitchell's performance, but Rami's was on another level, in my opinion, at any rate. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys. This has been a lot of fun talking about this. Special thanks to all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also you guys supported the channel by doing it. And all of us here, thank you for that very much. Guys, keep an eye open for my next installment of my Thoughts on Walks. That's coming this weekend. We're going to be talking about taking risks and failure. A little bit outside of our normal thing, but I've had a few people tweeting me some questions about that. And my next Thoughts on Walks is going to be a little bit about talking about taking risks, how to take calculated risks, dealing with the fear of failure, and dealing with failure itself as a result of risk. We're going to be talking about that. I'll be putting that up this weekend here sometime. And then, of course, the John Campea Show returns again on Monday. Make sure you guys join me for that. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here and making this a part of your day, making me feel special all the time. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.